Hey, fellow Ristopians, welcome back to the channel. I'm not sure what it's like where you are, but it is miserable weather here in the UK. So I thought I'd do another video. I'm back in from the cold. So S is for SpeedTimer. Now, I think this video is obviously about Seiko. I've got the Seiko SpeedTimer here in the Panda Derivant. It's kind of also about. I mentioned I'd do a video about things that I don't like, and that's not in a negative way. It's just finding out things in the watch world that are just not for you. I think that you have to try certain things. I think in the watch world, it can be quite expensive to try stuff and then find out you don't like it. But in other worlds, I've done this, and I think it's a good philosophy, you know, to work out what you don't like and then just not do it again, to create a path in your chosen hobby that is the righteous path. Now, as well as being about Seiko, a brand for which I have tremendous respect. I have a few Seikos. Do I have a few Seikos? How many Seikos? No, I do have a few Seikos, which I can show on the channel. The Seiko SpeedTimer is the latest Seiko. I would love to do some JDM Seiko. I'd love to go to Japan. I mean, that's one of my bucket list things is to go to Japan, not just for watches, just generally, just to go there. Probably Tokyo, really, if I'm honest. I love the whole the Japanese vibe, both in terms of culturalness, if that's a word, and technology. Seiko, in terms of watches, massive brand, and I have a lot of respect for Seiko. But this video is not just about Seiko or just about the SpeedTimer. It's also about some of my touching on some of my dislikes in the watch world, things that I have found that I do not, that just aren't for me. But this watch is it kind of goes against a lot of things that I generally avoid. But I am so glad I did not avoid it on this particular watch. I think it was Teddy Baldassare, if I'm pronouncing his surname correctly. I think he popped up a post saying this was the best chronograph under $1,000. I don't have an opinion on that. You know, I have an opinion on the best Swiss watch under $1,000, but which I think would be the Tissot Gentleman. I don't really have an opinion on chronographs. They're not really my cup of tea normally. And let's get into some other things about this watch that are not normally my cup of tea. White dials, small case sizes, smaller than sub 40mm case sizes. This is 39mm. 20mm lug width, tachymeter. I don't even know how to pronounce it because it really isn't my thing. It's way too fussy for me. I do quite like some of the dive watches that have a dive, chronographs that have a dive bezel, and it doesn't make much sense, but I think that's because I just prefer dive watches. Now, those, you know, I've mentioned a few of those things. I purchased this and I absolutely love it. I'm not sure why. It's on the face of it, it's too small. It's the wrong color and the wrong size. Well, the wrong size is too small. But I popped it on my wrist, and I just love wearing it. It's what other watch? I mean, actually, I've mentioned the Tissot Gentleman. I mean, that was the last watch that I purchased that I was not really expecting to love so much. and actually did enjoy every single time I put it on. I enjoyed wearing it, and it's a bit like that with the Seiko SpeedTimer. Now, there is a new 41.5mm SpeedTimer that's just hit the market, and I've tried it on. I tried it on at Watch Pro Salon London 2022, but I didn't like it as much as this one, which doesn't make any sense. I think the it does have a slight, it's a larger case, and it's a 21mm lug width. I guess I guess the only difference really is that this has a bezel, and the new 41.5mm has a more traditional, as in the bezel rather in the picture. So it's a steel bezel with an insert that's completely flat, and it really, you know, that works great on a dive watch, I think, but on a I've never seen a Marine Master. That sounds quite cool. That works quite well. This strap here looks quite cool. It's going outside of the maybe I'll Google this watch later. I didn't know. Maybe this is just for a children's book, or maybe it exists. I will Google Seiko Marine Master directly after this recording of this video. But yeah, it works quite well on a dive watch. The whole tachometer scale thing I don't really like. So the fact that it's beveled here just makes, for me, a massive difference. As I say, absolutely love this. Features of it, and it doesn't make any sense, but features of it are, well, I've mentioned the plus points. Features of it are, negatively, the pushers aren't very, there's not too much response there. It's stopping, it's starting, but there's not a lot of feedback in the pushers, but it works very well. It also has a lap timing function, so I've paused it there on the with the reset. It stopped at 20 seconds. I can make a note of that lap time if that's what I'm recording, and then I can push it again and it will go back to current time, and I can do that as many times as I like. So again, I'd have to make a written note of, or I could, you know, get my phone out and make a digital note, but I'd have to make a note of that time, and then I'd obviously have to do that before I needed the next lap, and then boom, goes back to the current elapsed time. And you can do that as many times as desired, and then obviously stop it completely and reset to 0, and we're back to just timing the time. Now, a couple of things on this. I think a thing of note is that Seikos are not really known for their fantastic quality control in terms of things lining up. This actually lines up really well. I think you can possibly see the second hand on the chronograph is slightly to the left. There is a feature on this watch that I can, I believe that I can center that again if I want to, but it's so close I haven't bothered. Everything else though, the actual seconds of the day on the subdial are hitting the marks really well, and obviously it's quite a small subdial, so you don't notice it as much as if it was on the main dial. I've just noticed that's only just spun around down here. So yeah, everything lines up really well. I think I can adjust that. If I was really bothered by this second hand on the chronograph, main second hand there, I could recenter that, but I haven't. I've only had it a week or so. I haven't actually got around to. I did have a look in the instructions, but I haven't got around to doing that. I don't feel I need to. It's more the It's the things that I can't adjust that would normally bother me. The dial straight, and I'm very, very pleased with it. It's it's probably the only 39 or it's the only 39mm watch that I think looks fantastic on my wrist. Other 39mm watches I always think they look a bit small. I'm thinking that the reason that is that this, a bit like a Zenith El Primero, I think chronographs actually look better when they're smaller. Being more compact, the actual dimensions of the watch look fantastic. I think that case diameter for the case depth, I think everything on this just really works size-wise. If that were 41, a much bigger dial, and millimeters don't really, size on paper doesn't really count for much. You have to kind of hold the watch in your hand. I've got two watches that measure exactly the same on a vernier caliper, and yet holding them next to each other, one, and no matter which side you hold them, one definitely looks bigger than the other. A big optical illusion. But this, I think the dimensions of this, both in terms of 2D and 3D, just work so well. I think it's perfect for my 7¼ inch wrist. So if you've got a smaller wrist, I couldn't recommend this highly enough. Other features of the watch that are worth mentioning. So as you may be able to see there on the bottom subdial, I've started the chronograph again. So the 60-minute counter on the subdial at the bottom has recentered. If I stop that and reset it, you'll notice that after a while, once it's reset, that subdial actually goes, and the minute hand is obscuring something. Actually, it's not a screwdriver, is it? Let's get that out of the way. Yeah, there you can see it pop back. So I've moved the minute hand out of the way, and when it's not in chronograph mode, the hand there goes to show the charge of the watch, because this is a solar powered watch. So it has an internal battery, obviously quartz, albeit with I guess it's a mecha quartz, because the second hand sweeps on the chronograph. It ticks on the subdial for the seconds, but it sweeps on the second hand for the chronograph. So it's got an internal battery, but that is charged via solar cell, which are actually these three subdials. So they are the windows to the solar, for the sun to shine in and charge that internal battery. And when not in chronograph mode, the second hand here shows the charge from full at approximately 9 o'clock on there, and empty at about 7 o'clock on the dial, which is really nice. I'm not sure if this has a sleep mode. I haven't checked that out yet. It's quite nice when solar powered watches do have a sleep mode and they're in the dark, and then you bring them out and boom, they go back to the correct time. I don't think this does. I've not seen it mentioned anywhere. I kind of got this in to look at, not thinking I would love it anywhere near as much as I do. But soon as I popped it on my wrist, I realized it was a keeper, and I sized it to my wrist, and I am keeping it. Another thing of note here is, I've seen it mentioned in other videos of it, the date window. I'm not really a date window fan. I think this is, I would not have had any problem if the date wasn't there. It kind of needs to be at 4-ish o'clock. What's that? 25 past 4? 20 past 4. because it can't be at 3 o'clock. It's fairly, it's not cluttering the dial too much. But one thing about it you do notice is it's to be underneath these solar cells for the subdials. I'm guessing they're thicker than they would be if they were just normal subdials. It's very deep below the dial, so unless you're looking straight at it, it is quite difficult to read that date. But personally, I'm glad it's small. If I really need to know the date, I'll orientate that to see it. I'm fast becoming a person that doesn't really want a date on the dial of a watch anyway, so that isn't an issue to me. So hope you've enjoyed this video of the Seiko SpeedTimer. Do be aware of the differences between this and the newer model or models that have recently come out, and maybe if you're a bigger wristed guy, maybe consider, I got quite a good discount on this. I'm guessing, it's a Seiko. You'll get a discount on it, almost regardless of what model it is. But this one's sitting around maybe now interestingly, this did sell above retail when it first came out. It did have a bit of a, it was a hard to get piece, I believe, and it did sell at over retail when it came out. I managed to get quite a decent discount on it, which was part of the temptation to give it a try. I'm glad I did, because I do love it. It's probably, well, it's not even probably, it's my favourite chronograph. I did have on the channel, here we go, my Casio Edifice in a recent video. And just to give you a comparison in size, there is a massive difference in size between these two. I mean, this is obviously big, and let's get it on wrist. Buttons, pushers. This is a big old. I think you can see enough of the bracelet. It isn't too big for my wrist. I can certainly pull that off, and I do love wearing the Casio Edifice chronograph. And in comparison, the Seiko. It's funny that I love both of them. I think my wrist can take both of these watches. But when you hold them side by side, they are such different sizes. But there's just something about this Seiko. The dimensions, I think, are perfect. The weight, it's not a hugely expensive watch, and it does have its things that could be better. It's got male end links here, which is something that my wrist size doesn't really, I don't think about too much, but do bear that in mind. And I think with 39mm though, I think that's going to be a good fit on most people's wrists. Well, hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope that's given you a bit of an insight. It's still a very popular watch. The newer model, the 41.5mm, has only just come out, so I'm guessing that's going to get a lot of traction. But yeah, do consider the. On paper, I would have gone for the 41.5, but in holding them in having them both on my wrist, I certainly would. That would have been a mistake for me. So I'm glad that I tried this one first, because I've since tried on the 41.5. I've realised that isn't as nice a watch, even though it's bigger, which is probably more my usual size. But it just shows you've got to try watches on. You can't just look at the spec, or look at the pictures, videos on YouTube. You've got to try them on. Narrow it down via YouTube, etc. But you've got to try it on, or order it online from a retailer that would be you will be able to do an easy return if it wasn't for you. And don't trash obviously the boxes and stuff, or take any protection off before you make that decision, because if it's not right for you, someone else is going to have to buy that. So make sure it's in good condition for them to do that. Well, another video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Do like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, if you liked it, and if you haven't already subscribed. See you in another video. One wrist, live it.